Hey guys and girls, Poketin King here, back with another Flesh and Blood video. So it is Collectors Week. We have already had an array of information and articles come out. We had an article from Open Booster, but the main important things that we're going to talk about today is the reprint policy for Rainbow Foils and the print run numbers that we've now had for a lot more sets, including some ones that are quite surprising. So obviously, Collectors Week is something they do every year, and it was a little bit later this year, but I think it makes sense with kind of the information that we're getting and the timing of things. Obviously, after the Japanese release, Misfail, and we've just had Pro Tour Amsterdam. I think the next one is going to be the world premiere for Rosetta in Tampa. So that'll be awesome to see what happens and kind of what gets revealed and what we see there for this up and coming set. So we'll talk about the print numbers. I was debating whether or not I wanted to do this as a screen record and you can see the article yourself, but honestly, you can just read through the article yourself. You don't want to hear me reading through it word for word, but we want to talk a little bit about a few of the things. So the reprint policy, obviously Flesh and Blood are very transparent with a lot of the things they do. They make a point of saying that they're very transparent and robust in their policies, and the clear expectations that have been set by collectors and fans of Flesh and Blood. So we know there's a cold foil reprint policy, though if it was printed as a cold foil in a set, it cannot be reprinted with the same artwork as a cold foil in another set. So promos are still, from what I can see, unaffected by this. So there is a chance that Rainbow Foils and cold foil promos can still be reprinted. We know that they've been reprinted into things like gold foils and stuff, and we know that cards have had different arts and stuff. But now they've mentioned, so I'll read a few of the bits that they've said, is over the past few years, many collectors have noted our consistent approach to Rainbow Foil reprints. Specifically that we have not reprinted Rainbow Foil cards unless they feature a new artwork, with one being the Clash of the Battles Rhinar versus Dorinthia set. And then as part of Collectors Week, we want to announce that the cold foil reprint policy has been updated as a reprint policy and now includes rainbow foils. So this now means that rainbow foils that are printed within a set that can come in a booster pack cannot be reprinted in rainbow foil with the same artwork. So what does that mean? And I'm going to talk about the big main reason as to why this is such good news is expectations. Expectations are a huge thing when you're going into a game, whether you're existing in the game or whether you're entering a game. And knowing that the company is following the rules, we know that, Magic the Gathering have their list. And they have kind of bypassed that as such in ways over the years. They've kind of, they've edged towards basically that not being a thing anymore. And then they had the list cards that you get in sets, and now they've got rid of that. And now there's another thing that's I don't know what they're doing with that. But with Flesh and Blood, going into the game going that, right, I'm going to buy this cold foil legendary, for instance. I know there's 800 of them made. There's not going to be more reprinted of this, which is great news. As a collector, that fills you with joy and confidence that this is a game that I can put money into. Not only as a collector, but as an investor as well. But with Rainbow Foils, it's always been a case of a lot of them are even rarer than a lot of the cold foils. But people have been a little bit wary about whether or not they will reprint them. Now, they haven't done so far, reprinting with the same artwork. But because there was nothing written about it, people were a bit wary. Now, I never thought that LSS would probably do something like that in terms of reprinting it directly, just to, because it would upset people. But at the same time, you never can be sure. And I think the argument for that is, right, players traditionally will want the non-foil versions or they want cold foils, because rainbow foils curl, which is a big issue, especially with things like, the Fableds where, especially the first three, they're expensive. So if you want to run a heart or you want to run a shard or you want to run an eye, that you can get, I think you can get proxies at the event. You got to prove that you have the card. But I know that there's, circumstances where that hasn't turned out the way it should have done, and it has been a bit blurry. But this cements the fact that coming into this game, you know that cold foils that are printed in sets, rainbow foils that print in sets, cannot be reprinted with the same artwork. Now, reprinting of different artwork is absolutely fine. We've had that with quite a few cards now. We've had it with, the sigils. We had it with Fate Foreseen. We've had it with Command and Conquer, as well as, I think, the Null Rune stuff that they printed recently. That's absolutely fine. Doing different artwork is absolutely fine. Like, that's not an issue. But with the same artwork, that was always something that people were a little bit worried about. But now, we've got it, and we know that they aren't going to do that, which is absolutely fantastic. Now we'll move on to the print runs, which is something that has been eagerly awaited for so long for an update on print numbers. So we know that James White mentioned, was it early on this year, that last year they had destroyed some of the print runs for certain sets that just weren't selling so well. So I believe this is adjusted to remove what was destroyed. So, welcome to Collectors. We previously announced that a particular point of fascination for some of the collectors in the community is the annual print run update, which absolutely is. It's huge. You'll find a summary of the newly published print data available in Collector Center. It now obviously prints if it's out of stock and out of print as well, so we can see, if distributors have it still available to purchase LSS, whatever means market is left for these products. Cool. So obviously LSS will keep a small amount of each product for events and stuff. We know that that's not an issue at all. So I will have a picture up here right now whilst I'm going through it, so you can see what I'm looking at as well. So we're going to move on to, we'll start off with the Fab 1.0 because we know that Everfest was destroyed. I believe, 40 boxes ended up getting out there before it got destroyed. So Tales of Aria Unlimited print run is actually 76,000 boxes, which isn't a lot. It's actually the smallest print run for any Unlimited set bar Everfest. It is almost a third of what Monarch is. And it actually is more than a third of what WTR is, which is interesting. So it actually means the Rainbow Foil Caution and the Rainbow Foil Legendaries are actually rarer than the Cold Foil. Now, do I think that's going to... Do I think people are going to change? Is that going to change the market? I don't think so. I think the Cold Foil is always the one that you want. It is the premium version of it. But there might be people that maybe want to pick up one of each of the Rainbow Foils now. If they're doing a complete master set and they want Cold Foil and Rainbow Foil, that might be something that they do now. Tales of Aria is a beautiful set. So I can understand why people would do so. Fab 2.0. So History Pack 1, they haven't mentioned, I guess it's out of stock, but it's out of print, but they haven't said out of stock. So I suspect they're not giving numbers for anything that is still, can be ordered from distro. Now, I haven't seen History Pack 1 really in the wild for ages. I always felt that there was a short supply in the UK. We obviously don't have the print numbers now for that, so it's interesting. But we obviously know that the print run for the Black Label was 45,000. Obviously, Italian being the smallest of that. So Uprising is 212,000, which is quite a high number, I think. Then Dynasty goes down to 168,000. So I suspect they destroyed a lot of the Dynasty print run. And then we go on to Outsiders, 169. And then Dust Till Dawn is 175,000. So I don't think they would have destroyed the print run for Dust Till Dawn because of the art sketch serialized cards, the Chain and Prism. But I suspect that they destroyed some Uprising, Dynasty, and Outsiders because, the numbers aren't exactly even. I mean, they weren't so much really for a lot of the sets before, but they were doing, 16,700. It was done based on the boxes, right? Done by the cases, even the amount of cases. So Uprising being 212, obviously 168,000 for Dynasty, and then 169,000 for Outsiders, which is really interesting. I might have a picture up of the mock-up. So there is a file that I'll include in the description below that I have mentioned previously, where it tells you about how many copies have been made or printed for all the sets that had print numbers, basically. It was just done by the fact that the pull rate data that was, given out by LSS on the Flesh and Blood website, and then you worked out, obviously, you knew how many boxes were made, and then you basically just, worked that out, basically, with quick maths. So it's quite interesting. So it means that, obviously, Everfest, obviously, has its 229,000 print run. Tales of Aria is actually printed less than Monarch. Still quite a high print number at 284,000. But it does mean that a lot of these later sets have smaller print runs. They obviously are adjusting moving forward, and the way that they distribute the product is that they have warehouses now, so it's not all going to distributor, which is a great thing because we know we've had issues in the past with that. So I think that companies releasing print run data is really important. I think definitely when the Monarch stuff came out, 125,000 at the time was huge. We were all expecting it to be double Crucible of War, obviously, because we had issues with trying to find product. Obviously, the stuff that happened with Monarch back then. If you're watching this, you most likely know what happened, but if you don't, the short of it is that the product was manipulated by distributors and stores to make us all believe that there was less product than there actually was. Obviously, Flesh and Blood was gaining momentum. Crucible War sold out. That was doing really well. The first 3 sets were, quite expensive, well above retail. And then obviously Monarch was coming out, and the hype had sort of built up there. You had content creators like Rudy and Fabled Saint from Fabled Hunters, and this was when Fab started picking up steam, and obviously a lot of the investors just pumped money into the game, and it got manipulated. People like Channel Fireball, who are scum, they were huge with it, and then other companies like Team Covenant, as such, they followed basically, and a lot of stores did as well. I know from first-hand personal experience, as well as speaking to many other people at the time, and obviously since then, is that it got to, I think, like a few hundred a box. I think at the peak it was like 300 a box. It might have been more. I know from that's what I saw here anyway. I never bought into Monarch on release, bar I think it was like a case that I actually paid for. A case and 1 box that I bought at retail. The rest of it wasn't, they were like, they cancelled my order and was like, oh, if you want to order it again, we basically put the price up. There was a load of issues, basically. A load of LGSs did it. Some LGSs aren't in business anymore. Some are still trading. Obviously, they don't do those practices now, but everyone just got stuck on the hype and the FOMO that everyone just joined in, and it became just this absolute clusterfuck of just ridiculousness. It was just ridiculous. That is the downside sometimes of having investors in, where people didn't have the right picture. Obviously, LSS at the time was like, well, this game is selling really well. Like, it's sold out at distributor, it's sold out at stores. So that's why the print run for Tales of Aria first edition was 208,000. And obviously, by the time they printed Everfest, it was too late, and they did 229,000. And obviously we didn't get unlimited. They ended up destroying that print run because they realised that there was no need for it. So I'm interested to see if we will get... so actually, German History Pack is actually out of stock. So it's out of print and out of stock. So I suspect you can still get maybe some of the other languages. I think that was the most popular. I've just noticed that on there. That's quite interesting. But I don't think there's anything else on there. Obviously, there's an article with open boosters, which I sort of had a quick read through. Obviously, Dan's been in the game for years. I think he got in for it through Rudy. And I think he's one of the few that has one of the Prism statues, which I'll post a photo up there, which is done by Weta, who have done basically loads of movies and stuff. They famously known for their Lord of the Rings props and stuff. I know that people have visited the Weta workshop before. It's on my list, basically, if I ever get to that part of the planet, if I ever get to Australia and New Zealand and such. But yeah, here's a kind of a quick update in short of what's been happening. Obviously, we're going to have more articles coming over the next few days. I believe there's some stuff done by Foil Degen. I think he's got a few articles. So that'll be interesting to see, as well as probably some other, maybe high-profile collectors. Let's have a look. What they actually... I think they've mentioned what's actually going to be on there. I don't know if that's all of it. Fluke and Box, he's got an article. Yeah, Foil Degen. But yeah, and there's some stuff going on socials, by the way, on Twitter and stuff, or X, where I think if you post your favorite playmat you play with at your armory, and then now is like your favorite Marvels, I think you can win some Marvel from Mistveil. So I think it's worth entering just to share your love of the game, share some things that you're really excited and proud of with the rest of the world. I looked through some of the collections of playmats and they're spicy. I submitted mine, which was my Tunic playmat, but I have seen some absolutely stunning playmats and collections so far. So that is Fab CW for Collectors Week, basically, and then Fab TCG as the hashtags on there. But as always, thank you all for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification button for all my videos you don't want to miss out. We've got some exciting stuff planned. I did do a video with Transient TCG, which will be a link in the description below to his video. Another fantastic fellow collector, buyer, seller, fan of the game. We met in London and, in a pub that we sat down and had a conversation. You can see the busy chatterings going on in the background, which I think people quite enjoyed. So it's definitely a unique scenario, situation to film a video in. But it was great, and we just talked about all things Flesh and Blood as well as other card games and how to be successful in 2024. And as always, have a great day.